Us. Now, as part of measures to address the growing insecurity and escalating prices of commodities in the country, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has revealed plans to work with governors of the 36 states of the Federation and the National Assembly towards putting in place a mechanism that will engender state police. This was disclosed by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Aondoakaa, shortly after President Bola Tinubu's meeting with state governors at the State House. President Tinubu, who was in company of Vice President Kashim Shettima, charged the governors to strengthen their forest ranges and arm them to keep all the forest safe from criminals. The statement notes that the president and governors have agreed to work together to solve the problems and tackle the economic pressure being faced by the citizens. Now, former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Michael Aondoakaa joins us now to discuss food scarcity, debate on parliamentary system, state police, as well as the state of the nation. Good afternoon. It's great to have you on Newsday. A warm welcome.
Good afternoon.
Right, let's get straight into our conversation. I've painted a picture of a myriad of issues that we currently find ourselves in currently. My first question to you was rather general. I would say, what is it that you think is the greatest stumbling block between this administration's intentions to try and move the country forward and what seem like the unintended consequences that have become our lived reality currently?
Thank you very much. The main issue now, there is the problem of everybody in Nigeria is that of security. Nigerians have the capacity to feed themselves. Nigerians are hardworking people, predominantly farmers. But now, the farmers can't go to farm. That is the basic reality because of insecurity. And the problem we are having now of hunger is as a result of that. Because most of our farmers, rural farmers, they don't rely on rice, imported rice or beans. They do everything for themselves. And they contribute more to the economy of this country. What I mean, GDP of this country. But that aspect has been weakened because most of the major producing areas are under siege. You start from Jigawa, the basin, you go to Kebbi, you go to Sokoto, you come to Kaduna, access to Niger, to Benue, which are major food producing areas. Farmers can't go to farm because of the insecurity. And that is the main problem of hunger now in the country. And if that issue of insecurity is addressed, then our people can go to farm and we can have bumper harvest and we shall be able to feed ourselves. But if the issue of insecurity is not tackled, and whatever the state governments and the federal government does, farmers cannot go back to farm. So the first challenge of the government is to solve, and the 36 government, federal government and the 36 government, including the local government, is to solve this problem of insecurity. Header crisis, kidnapping, banditries, and all sorts of insecurity that is making it impossible for an ordinary farmer to return to farm. And that is our farmers who hitherto we never buy foodstuffs are coming to the market to buy things like Indomie to feed their children. They're looking for rice in the market instead of doing their rice, looking for beans in the market. And this is the kind of things that are putting a lot of pressure on our people to the extent that you have widespread complaint that everybody is hungry. And I think the complaint is very genuine. And the president has started addressing it, but he should go further to ensure that security agencies have marching orders to return our farmers to farm. Thank you.
Well, we certainly hear you. And staying on the matter of security, well, you just said the president should give marching orders, to the security agencies. I'd like to make reference to the proposal for state police, which we know that human rights activist Shehu Sani has said that, at least on the front page of This Day today, he did say that it's a mirage and not a good idea. Well, I'm just wondering where you stand regarding that. Do you think that state police is the way forward, or at least one of the ways forward to get us in a better state of security?
Yeah, during our time, President Yaradua, we also mooted the idea of state police. And if the present idea is conceived in the manner we conceived it, it is possible. First, the police should be placed on the concurrent list. State police should be on the concurrent list of the Constitution. In that ways, it means the federal government and the state government will have powers to legislate on matters of state police. And the position of the law is clear. Where a matter is on concurrent list, the federal government makes laws and the state also makes. That of the state will be inoperative. It will be that of the federal government. Therefore, if the police are coming, state police, the framework for state police will be the law made by the federal government, the National Assembly. We can define, in our case, we try to define the limitations of state police. We excluded state police from all kinds of political activities. They will not be involved. Pre-election rallies, anything relating to political activities, they will not be involved. And I believe now also, if the president is considering state police, the framework for state police must be an enactment made by the National Assembly, excluding the state police from participating in political activities and confining them to issue of crimes relating to terrorism, kidnapping, any crime, but not political activities. The fear has been political activities. We also created a forum where the kind of weaponry state police we have was going to be specified in the schedule of the law that will be enacted by the National Assembly. And in the case a state needs something more than what is specified, they have to apply through the Office of National Security Advisor to the President for approval. And all weapons also were to be imported into the country through the federal government for the state police. Basically, we limited them in that law. We proposed to having basic weapons like AK-47 of that grade, not armor cars and the rest of them. The post police were basically limited to apprehension of criminals and did not have a role in political activities. And we also tried to introduce a provision in that draft law, which we did, but of course we could not push it, was to make sure that any state police that participate in the forbidden items, the personnel will be held personally liable. So if those safeguards are provided in the law, not that the state government will go and put the state police, the federal government will not remove it and put on the residual list. If they do, that will be anarchy. In that way, that means federal government has no power to legislate of it. But if state police is brought under the concurrent list and the federal government now makes provisions for establishment of state police, with these provisions I have stated, excluding the state police from participating in political or forms of political activities, clearly forbidding state police from arrest pertaining to politics, forbidding state police from certain kinds of weapons, and of course, giving power for overriding consideration in case of national emergency for federal police to come in. That is possible. It depends on what is drafted. The country has moved. Society has moved. Other countries like Ethiopia, most other countries have state police. It depends on the kind of framework we make. And I believe time is ripe to make federal government to place the police on the concurrence list, legislate for their establishment so that the state will not have power to legislate. If they do, the law will be inoperative, except they legislate on matters that ordinarily the federal government has not covered. But it is better at this stage to have state police, limiting their powers to apprehension of criminals, excluding them from political activities, limiting their powers in the kind of weaponry they have, limiting their authority from importing arms into the country. All arms for the state police must be imported through the federal government, through the Office of National Security Advisor.
Now, the legislative framework that you've just set out, it sounds extremely robust, and it feels as though it addresses all of the issues concerning accountability and misuse, especially political misuse. My question is, in your time and in the years that have elapsed since then, why is there consistent dissent for the establishment of the state police when it seems that this exercise has been conducted, and robustly so? Why does it always get turned away?
The apprehension is the attitude of the state governors. There's serious apprehension that the state governors will use the police to oppress their political opponents. And there was apprehension that if it is removed and sent to the residual list, the kind of laws state government will make for their operation will be tantamount to the provisions of the Constitution. And that is why, in trying to clear that apprehension, you cannot bring the state police on residual powers in the Constitution. You have to remove and place them on the concurrence list, where the laws made by the federal government, National Assembly, we have superior status, and those made on the state will be inoperative. In other ways, if the federal government, National Assembly, makes a law on a matter which both the state and the National Assembly has the powers, and the state also makes laws on the same subject matter, that of the state will be inoperative, except until the federal government repeals their own. It will be that of the federal government that will be operative. So those safeguards will be made clearly in the laws establishing the state police by the federal government, by National Assembly. Exclude them from the Constitution. Limit their kind of weaponry they will have provision for overriding interests of the nation where the federal police can intervene. Limit them to issue of crimes. That will suffice. Allowed one uniform method where weapons can be imported. Of course, you cannot allow 36 states to be importing arms for their state police. The arms must come through the federal government, and the kind of weapons will be on application to the federal government. And the kind of weapon will be the one specified in the schedule to the law. If we do that, there will be those fears will not be there. Of course, one key provision, which I think, if the present government is very serious, is to make the officers of the state police, is part of the prohibition in the law establishing state police by national parliament. If they go beyond that, they should be made personally liable. And that will create some fear, and then, of course, state government will not have the power to. Of course, you also give state powers to regulate them, not only the state, but the federal high court to regulate the activities of the state police.
Very well said.
And that will be in order. But honestly, time has come for us to allow the state with this strong legal framework to complement the federal police, because they appear to be overstretched.
Well said and duly noted. I would like to take this conversation into the talk about, or the proposal regarding going from the presidential system of government to the parliamentary system of government by the year 2031. I'm just wondering if you think, if in the event that you're open to that system of government, what do you think it would take to enhance political will and embrace new governing norms to make it a success if we ever came to that point?
I do not see the advantage that would add. Going back to parliamentary system, I do not see the advantage. Mind you, we started in 1960 with parliamentary system. But we have situations that we never had the situation as extreme as we're having now. But we have problems. The issue is individuals, the leadership, whether it's parliamentary or presidential, is a leadership that is important. Because the individuals, whether you call it the French system, we call it any kind of system, but if the leadership is not ready to govern, the result will be them. So that's why I had always believed that we're in a haste, and always in a haste of amending our constitution. When the constitution was 1919 came into force, no country has gone in to make such amendments as we have done. We have gone into 6 amendments and people are still talking of amendment. Because perfection comes when you operate a system for some time. It's funny that amendment went to the extent of election when it should be. Time within which courts should complete amendment. Understanding that constitution is supposed to be read as a whole. And democracy is based on rule of law. And the fundamental rights of people is access to court. So why will you, in the same constitution, you go and start limiting people's access to court? And that was the kind of amendment we were doing. Forgetting that the whole constitution is supposed to be read in relation with other provisions of the constitution. And the fundamental provisions of the constitution, which is in the fundamental human rights, and the principle of our government is a democratic system based on law. So why would you go and remit people's time to litigate on matters that concerns them? But this was the kind of amendment we are having. And today, those amendments has come with a lot of outcry. The courts follow it because the court is bound by it. And then that is the situation when the court follows the laws that are amended literally, there's outcry, and we accuse the court. But we forget that we, the people, are amending the system in a manner that is creating chaos. When I was Attorney General, the issue of amending time within which the election petition should be concluded, I flatly said no. Nigeria is a democratic country. People should have a right and time to exercise their freedom on grievances in court. And we should not curtail them. But unfortunately, I left office. We don't have 180 days. We don't have so all manner of things have been brought. So minute details have been brought in the constitution that is making the operation very difficult. So we should be very careful of, this is not the system, but the individuals that are involved.
I certainly wish we had more time to delve into your wealth of experience, because I know you have a lot to unpack. Unfortunately, our time is fast spent, but this has been a phenomenal exchange. Former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Michael Aondoakaa, thank you so much for this exchange.